Hi, this is Tom Lassiter. What I want to show you today in this video is the first step I've taken in building a internet system which will be deployed in a remote area in Nepal, serving 4 remote villages. It's a complicated task, and I must say I'm a neophyte, but I've had a lot of help from the Ubiquity community. All the gear that you see here is Ubiquity radios, antennas, switches, and routers. So a big shout out goes to the people that have helped me through this, and I'll talk about them in a little later. Anyways, so what I wanted to talk about then was what we were trying to do first. This is a Google Earth view of the region that we will be providing this service for. Our intent is to bring internet communication to the main village of Kamari, and then 3 outlying villages, Bial, Bagakur, and Devithan over here. These villages don't even have phone service at this point. If they have communication at all, it's with satellite phone. There's no economy base for a cell system there. So we're bringing internet in because the NGO, the nonprofit that I'm working with, helping, has built a medical clinic and a school in Kamari, and what they want to do is to provide more service there. They've been doing this for about 12 years. Those facilities were destroyed in the earthquake, and they raised enough money to get them rebuilt, so we're trying to take it to the next level. They teach computer science, honestly, in the school there, but they've only got 1 computer that they pass around, so bringing in an internet browser is important. The medical facility is great, but there's no communication, there's no doctor there. So by bringing in internet, we can provide both communication and the possibility of telemedicine, in other words, interactive video, to allow the nurse practitioner in Kamari to communicate with a doctor in Kathmandu. So from Kamari, in order to get service there, the internet service provider is down in Kathmandu, which is 24 kilometers to the southeast. But in order to get a line of sight communication, the villagers have just finished building a 10-meter tower at Nagarjun on the crest of a mountain, so they have a clean line of sight to here. And then from there we will be serving this village and the surrounding villages. Here's the details of it. There's Kathmandu. This is the back hall to Kamari. We use rocket dishes, rocket prisms along here, or we will. One of the remote villages that we want to reach is over here, Devithan, and we've got a rocket prism link over there. In Kamari village, we have got a pair of prism stations with 90-degree sector antennas on them, and they provide service, and one sector provides service out to the village of Bial and to Panchasi school, and the other sector antenna here provides service to effectively to Bagakur via the Swara Tower here, but also to Barindra School and Ruping School. These villages have a pharmacy in them, and that's where the service is going in. The pharmacies are the source of medical knowledge for these villages, and by providing this service, when someone has a serious medical problem, rather than walk all the way to Kamari, they can communicate, hopefully, with our internet system to Kamari or to Kathmandu to get the help that they need, or in the directions of what to do next. So this is what we're trying to build. Next week I take all this gear and we load it into check bags and fly it to Nepal. So what we wanted to do here was test out the entire network so that when we got there we simply had to worry about infrastructure and not worry about all the parameters that you have to set on these radios to get everything singing and dancing. And I'll talk about some of that infrastructure in a minute. But let me show you what we've got going here. This small black box is the edge router in Kathmandu, and I've got internet service from upstairs coming into that router. It's connected to the first of the rocket prisms, you see right there, and that rocket prism then broadcasts and connects to Nagarjuna Tower. At Nagarjuna Tower we've got this edge router converted to a switch. It's an EPR6. We have that one branch off of from the tower to one of the remote villages that which we couldn't reach by line of sight from any of the other locations, to Devithan. And in here we've simulated the pharmacist has got a little free time, so he's watching a soccer game. So from Nagarjuna Tower, then the backhaul continues to Kamari Village, and here we've got a edge switch, and from the edge switch we've got a local network which services the school and the medical clinic using nanobeams. So there's a nanobeam right here, which is the access point, and then 2 station points at the school and at the women's center. From there we will have access points providing service, wireless service into the school, for example. The organization, which is Health and Education for Nepal, is bringing in a number of really nice computers for the classroom. So it's going to be really exciting to see those kids using computers for basically the first time in their lives. Here we have the 2 sector antennas broadcasting out using these 90-degree sector horns, sector antennas. So this second one here is hooked up. The first one is not being tested right at the moment. And this one is communicating via Swara Tower to Bagakur. So this is the Bagakur. These are light beams here. I should have said those are prism stations back here we're using as sector antennas. We're bringing in high definition video, and what we're trying to do is to limit the video throughput to the remote villages and give high priority to the medical clinic. It's really kind of tricky. If the bandwidth is there, obviously we want to provide as much bandwidth as possible, to the remote villages. But the medical clinic needs to take priority if they're using telemedicine tools. And the quality of service controls on these switches give you some options, but they're still kind of tricky, and I'm still playing with them and may not get a final configuration until we get to the field. Over here, this one is stop for a second. This is come on. This is Lukla Airport, which is the airport that you fly into if you're going to Nepal. So that's something I'm kind of looking forward to at the end of this journey, is going on the joyride of taking off and landing at Lukla. So this computer is hooked to what we're calling the women's center, and over here on this machine I've got video running, but I also have the traffic control up, and I'm not sure how well you can see it with the scanning that's going on. But what we're looking at is those 4 computers and how they're parsing out the service that they're getting. So this top one and the bottom one are the school and the women's center, which we want to have priority, and they're not really getting as much for this one right here. 101 is the over on the other side over there. That's the Devithan pharmacy, which is getting more service than proportionally, but it's really hard to say. So we have to do a lot more testing, a lot more playing with these quality of service controls. Those controls, in fact, are on this edge switch out here, which is kind of nice, but it doesn't do exactly what you think it's supposed to do. Not saying it isn't doing what it should be doing, but not doing what we thought it might be doing, if that makes any sense at all. In closing, I want to say a couple of things. One, I want to again go back and give a shout out to the Ubiquity community and a couple of people in particular that helped me with this. When I started off, I really had no idea how this hardware worked, and I got an enormous amount of help from a guy named Dan Denson. I put a plea out to the Ubiquity community, and he answered it within 15 minutes and spent a lot of time with me. In fact, it did the design and picked out the hardware that we ultimately are using in this setup. The other person is Chris Westcott. Dan was planning on going to Nepal, which would have been great, but his business pulled him away from that. So Chris stepped in and has been an enormous help when I started laying out this and running into all kinds of issues and challenges and getting things working. Just as an aside, this is all laid out with static IP addresses and fixed frequencies. We're using 3 different frequencies, scattered amongst the various links. The last thing I wanted to do was to talk a little bit about the nonprofit that has been doing all this work, which I'm inspired to work with and to help as much as I can. And it's Health and Education for Nepal.org. You can see the website URL there. And I think if you went to the website, you'll find some really nice videos showing what the village is like, what the people are like, and what these projects have accomplished in the last 12 years, earthquakes notwithstanding, so to speak. So the next step in the next video is going to be one from Nepal, where we take all this hardware and we mount it on the towers that the villagers have put in place. Very quickly, this is a typical setup that we will have, at the Nagarjun Tower. We'll have a 500 watt solar panel with a 24 volt battery system, and using a battery charger. We've got intermittent AC, which we'll use the battery charger, but as a backup, we've got solar power. So there's intermittent electricity throughout, so we're using a lot of UPS systems to maintain the system. So a lot of the infrastructure has already been put in place by the villagers, which is really exciting to see their interest and enthusiasm for this project. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you look forward to the next video that I'll put together in Nepal or shortly thereafter when I get home. Talk to you then. Bye.